For in the past few years, we will have to admit, the spooks have not been as active in their manifestations as in years gone by, but we have no hesitancy in claiming some real haunted houses. In a certain building once used for commercial purposes exclusively, but now converted into a dwelling, there used to be thrilling manifestations. The building had been used as a hospital during the Civil War, and after the Battle of Antietam, it had been filled with wounded soldiers. There were many amputations of arms and legs, and the surgeons, grown callous by much of this work, performed their duties in a mechanical sort of way, unmindful of the groans of the poor victims. And at one corner of the building was a pile of feet and legs, and at the other a collection of arms that had been amputated. These were more or less carelessly buried when the first rush of surgical work was over, but to this day, the spooks of the soldiers to whom these members belonged are unquiet. At certain hours of the night, groans can be heard, and more than one person claims to have seen arms and legs, all bloody and mangled, moving creepily over the floor, as if in search of the body from which they had been separated. They have even gone up the stairway and have fallen out of upper windows, just as they had perhaps been thrown out in 1862. It is said to have been a dreadful sight to see human feet, just as in life, kicking convulsively, and fingers clutching for something they never could catch. Another haunted house was famous for its many weird noises. In the stillness of midnight, the tip-tip of a woman could be heard in one of the rooms, and the swish of her silk skirts were plainly audible as she tipped about the place. Furniture would be thrown about the floor in another room, china and glass would be smashed, and fiendish noises would be heard until the very instant those who lived in the house would throw open the door. Immediately, all would be still, and every article would be in its proper place. Sometimes, mocking laughter would be heard. The most thrilling part of the manifestations, however, was the crying of a little child. It would start in an upper room, apparently go down the stairway to the first floor, then on down into the cellar. The sound would be like the feeble wailing of an infant, and in a far corner of the cellar it would sink down into the earth, growing fainter and fainter until at last there was but a heart-rending gasp, as if the last breath had been smothered in the throat. There were many attempts to solve the mystery of the manifestations in this house, but there was absolutely no explanation ever found, though old folks hinted at trouble that occurred there and whispered of a tragedy which they were afraid to speak of openly. There was another house where an apparition in the form of a little old lady wearing a brown silk dress was seen from time to time. She seemed to be trying her best in a gentle sort of way to communicate some kind of message to those to whom she appeared. Another peculiarity of this house was that a certain door could not be kept closed. No matter how well it was latched or even locked at certain times in the night, it would swing open as if to admit some person to the room. The little old lady in brown has been seen within the past few years, having appeared several times to a little girl 7 or 8 years old.